morning, Venters. I hope you're having a nice, peaceful start to your day. Why don't you guys join me on a walk? Let's go over the rules. We, as Venters, walk every single day. We believe that walking is so beneficial and so enjoyable that the only way to do it is every single day. So if you want to become a Venter with us, grab your shoes. Let's go for a walk. In addition to walking every day, we believe in drinking water every single day. If you eliminate those Cokes and those sugary drinks, you'll start losing weight with us. If we're gonna ditch these sugary drinks, we might as well try to ditch processed sugars altogether. So let's do that as well. When you combine the three, it equates to a perfect situation where we are calorie burning machines and we're gonna lose a ton of weight, and we're gonna do it together as a team. What do you guys say? We also have a rule for rule breakers. If you end up breaking any of those three rules that I just mentioned, we believe in the 2/3 rule, which simply states, break one of the three rules, but don't break any more than that. Keep going with your routine. If you end up having a piece of cake, don't feel so guilty that you throw your hands up in the air and quit everything. Instead, go for a walk, drink some water, make that one piece of cake your limit. Make sure you don't have pieces 3, 4, and 5. And if you do end up having pieces 3, 4, and 5, again, don't throw your hands up in the air and quit, because that's what everybody does. Instead, get your shoes on, come out with us for a walk, and I give you my word of honor, in 60 to 90 days, you'll get close to losing 15 or 20 pounds. And if you really are stringent and don't eat any processed sugars during that time, you'll probably lose closer to 30. We believe in things like Kaizen, which is baby steps, which basically means if you're walking a half hour a day now, maybe our goal could be to up that to 45 minutes to 60 minutes in a month or two. If you're eating 3 or 4 donuts a day now, maybe through baby steps we can cut that down to just 1 donut by this time next month, and by this time 2 or 3 months from now, maybe we could eliminate that donut altogether. So through baby steps, we're gonna increase the good stuff we're doing, like walking and drinking water, and we're gonna decrease the bad stuff we're doing, like constantly quitting our routine and constantly eating sugar, right? When you combine those forces of good and lower those forces of evil, pretty soon you have a winning plan, and that's what we're gonna do together. And if you're willing to do it with me, we're gonna call you a Venter, and you can be one of us. We believe in walking every single day, and we believe in cheering people on and doing positive things in a world where things aren't all that positive. And speaking of all that positive, all that not so positive, I should say, your boy's got a story for you today. This story comes out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, yet again, where authorities are looking for 20-year-old Jadir Goodwin. Check out what Jadir did. He drove his 2023 silver Jeep Cherokee into Presbyterian Hospital. I believe it's actually called Penn Presbyterian. Check this out. They had a gunshot victim with them. It was he and 2 other guys, and then a 4th guy was the gunshot victim himself. They go into the hospital begging 3 male nurses to come and help their friend that's suffering from a gunshot wound. So the 3 male nurses go outside following the guys to help their friend that's been shot. A couple of moments later, the Penn police roll up with their sirens blaring, and the 3 guys get back in their Jeep Cherokee and proceed to run over the 3 nurses they just begged to help. And oh yes, of course, they ran over their gunshot victim friend as well. So you have a situation where they go in begging people to help them, and then the people that go out to help their friend, they get rewarded by these very same 3 people running them over. So now Jadir Goodwin, who was the driver, has a lot of people looking for him this morning. Apparently this happened Saturday in the wee morning hours. So check this out. Guess what the hospital decided to do going forward? Going forward, guys, What the hospital is going to do is they've set up a new rule. They are not going to help anybody in need of aid until the driver turns off the vehicle and exits the car. Well, that sounds reasonable, doesn't it? Here's the problem. There's always a problem if you push this stuff into the future and kind of use your imagination. You're going to have a situation in the future where a handicapped man or woman is going to be trying to get help for their son or their daughter who's been shot or injured. And what's going to happen is some way, somehow, they're going to be begging people to come help their son. And then because they're handicapped and they're not able to exit the vehicle, we're going to end up having some goofy situation where in the future, the hospital is going to end up getting sued because they're not able to help somebody, and somebody's probably going to end up losing their life. Can you imagine a situation like that? Now, here's the problem with it all. When there's problems and you need the cops, they're not there. When there's a gunshot victim at the hospital, the last thing you need are for police to show up with their lights on and their sirens blazing. So what started this situation? Was it just a situation where Jadir Goodwin and his ne'er-do-well friends wanted to run over the people that were helping them? Or was it stupid that the Penn police came with their lights and sirens on? Because that was actually the catalyst that led Jameer and his two associates to jump back into their Grand Cherokee and proceed to run over not only their victim friend, but also the 3 nurses. So again, is there anything wrong with police turning on their lights and sirens? No, but what it tells people that are ne'er-do-wells and people that are crooks and criminals is get in your car and run. So, good morning. So that's the situation. So here's my question to you. We all agree that criminals need to get dealt with. But every time these cities deal with criminals, they let them right out. So if you're not going to go and try to stop them from committing crimes, why the hell are you pulling up into a hospital with your sirens and lights on? That screams to criminals, run, get out of here. So I kind of hold a couple different people to blame. Of course, Jadir Goodwin, the driver, and his 2 associates, of course, they're guilty of something. But again, there's got to be a better policy than showing up at a hospital with your siren blazing when nobody's in danger of being shot. So again, it seems to me like everything certain cities do, like Chicago, Philadelphia, Houston, New Orleans, Washington, D.C., you guys are legitimately cursed. Forever cursed. I don't know if I told you guys this stat, but this stat blew me away. And I found out about this stat about 6 months ago when I started my walking channel. If you take away all those cities that I just named and eliminated the guns, not from the country, not from citizens, but just from the people in those 5 or 6 cities, then all of a sudden America goes from like top 3 or 4 in gun violence homicides and it among countries, and it drops all the way down to the bottom 3 or 4. So in other words, this country, believe it or not, does not have problems with firearms. It's these 5 or 6 cities that are constantly in the news. Here's the crazy thing. Every day that you look up Philadelphia news or Houston news or Chicago news, you have your pick of the litter. You could choose one story about horrible grief, or you could choose another 15. Whoever you guys are voting for when it comes to your police chief, when it comes to your district attorney, when it comes to your this, that, and the other, you guys are picking wrong every single time. And instead of applauding these people like, hey, these are public servants, we need to start saying they're failures. Your cities are failures. It's not good that people always get up in the world, right? They get up and they start making money and they move out to the suburbs. Why is that not so good? because it shows you that the cities are getting worse. Everybody's dream is to make some money and move away. That's horrible. And I put that on the mayor. I put that on the governor. I put that on the state. I put that on the city. But there's something horrible when these 5 or 6 cities are making everybody around the country miserable. So why don't we change things like that? The other day I told you guys about a judge named Deshaun Jones from Harris County in Texas. This guy letting people that are just straight up horrible, heinous criminals, letting them out the streets for a couple $100, right? $7,500 bond. So what's that mean? That means you have to put up what, $750? Crazy amounts. And people get right back out on the streets. Basically, it comes across to me like every single time there's a heinous crime, you get the commissioner out there, you get the mayor out there, they talk about how things need to change, and then you go back to the judges and they're still letting people out, left and right. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, how many times can people in these cities just let their mayor and their police force basically lie to them? Nothing's going to change. This is only going to create a situation in the future where someone's going to need help and they're not going to be able to exit their vehicle, and someone's going to end up losing their life because of this new rule. And then somebody's going to want to sue the hospital, win millions of dollars, right? Costing everybody money. And it's going to be because of this Jameer Goodwin guy that in 2024 ran over 3 nurses with his buddies in the car. That's what happens in this world. So it's just like one big smorgasbord of bullshit. What they need to do is they need to make it where when Jameer is picked up, they make it where he never is able to legally drive again. They need to start permanently removing driver's license from people. They need to throw them in jail for a long time. How much you want to bet when they get him, they'll give him a 3-year sentence and he'll be out in 6 or 7 months. It's a damn shame. And the damn shame is, like I said, the person in the future that's going to be stuck in their vehicle because they have no legs and they're handicapped or disabled, and then all of a sudden, they're going to be suing this hospital for millions of bucks. You can already put that in the calendar. That'll happen probably within the next 5 to 10 years. This policy is not going to help people. It's going to hurt people. But people don't realize, why is the policy there? Because people in your community, like Jameer Goodwin, we grow up in a world where instead of neighbors looking down on these behaviors, it's celebrated in certain neighborhoods. It's just ridiculous. Could you imagine dropping off your friend who's a gunshot victim and you're trying to beg and plead for people to come out and help your friend, and then you run them over seconds later? Oh my God. Just ridiculous. Hey, here's a good idea. How about we start having policemen that are in unmarked cars? If every time people in the community hear a siren and see the cop lights, they run and do crazy stuff, well, then maybe it's time for people in Philadelphia to become the first police force that's just in unmarked cars. Just have a bunch of people in plainclothes officers. That could probably solve the crimes in Philadelphia. But they never think outside of the box, ever. It's just the same thing. And all these communities that are always so against the cops, you guys are the first people to call the cops when there's a problem. Do you see how weird that is? Oh my gosh, you've got the same people that hate the cops and they use their services so much more than everybody else. It's ridiculous. God, there's so many things to vent about when you watch Philadelphia news. Here's the thing that I'm starting to vent about. When are the good people gonna move and take away their money? When there's no money Cities get shut down. Get out of that city. Get out of those states. God, there comes a point where you have to say, it's on the judges, it's on the police chief, it's on the commissioner, it's on the parole board, but it's also on the people. There comes a time where you have to stand up and say, we're not going to take this anymore. So people in Chicago, people in Philadelphia, why don't you guys do that? People in Houston, you guys have 4 or 5 crazy, heinous things that happen every single day. It's crazy. The other day I told you guys about a pregnant gal that was shot outside of a Wawa in Delaware County out in Pennsylvania. Guys, that same Wawa in the last 3 or 4 weeks, they've been involved in like 2 or 3 different stories that involve people getting shot. It's like, okay, at what point do the cops just keep a permanent presence? God, see, these kids nowadays don't even know to like share the sidewalk. Did you see that? It's like, holy crap, are you guys gonna scoot over a little? Jeez Louise. Now, don't get me wrong, that's like a 7-year-old kid and his 5-year-old brother, but my God, the kids nowadays are dense. Now, notice I didn't say anything. I just kind of got over and let them ride by. But their little 5 and 7-year-old brains didn't even think to share the sidewalk. Where are their parents? And by the way, I'm okay seeing kids go to school on their scooter. I think that's a beautiful thing. They need to be out here with more kids, though. If your kid is the only one walking, that's kind of a potential danger, you know? Do you guys ever find it weird if you live in a city or town where crime's not that bad? You guys ever find it weird that some of these cities where crime is just horrible, they sit there and they want less police presence in their schools, and then they wonder why teachers are leaving the profession and don't want anything to do with their schools? Okay, you don't want cops in the schools, well then no wonder we have people that end up beating up people in school and doing horrible things to teachers and this, that, and the other. You don't want to hold the parents responsible. Everybody's always passing the buck. And it's like, golly, it would be really nice if these different cities would look at themselves in the mirror and change their ways. It would be really nice if a police commissioner just said, you know what? I suck at my job. If a mayor would say, you know what? I let everybody down. But yet the city and the people still vote for these same failing policies. Oh my goodness. Maybe that's why we love sports so much, right, Mala? Sports gives us a way where we can kind of just enjoy our day and be happy. We can have a bag of popcorn with our kids. We can watch as the home team hopefully wins. We can commiserate with the home team fans when we lose, right? But see, when you lose a basketball game, you're over it 2 or 3 days later. I mean, unless you're a real rabid fan, right? But when people start to lose their lives, you know, it just seems really cruel to me that nobody cares about anything in this country until it directly affects them. But you want to know something? When you turn on the news and you hear that, 500 CVSs are closing, or 300 Rite Aids are going out of business, or, there's grocery stores and places like Walmart that are abandoning these cities. And then you have those same politicians that suck. They literally suck at everything. And they get up there and they start to call Walmart, you're abandoning our neighborhoods. You don't care about people. Meanwhile, Walmart's saying, hey, because crime is so horrible, all we do is lose money. They complain about food deserts and book deserts in these places. And you're thinking, holy shit, Baltimore, that's a big city. Why isn't there any place to find a book? Maybe because every time there's places like libraries, they let bad people come in, and bad people, for all I know, are stealing the books. I mean, there's got to be a legitimate reason why these places don't have a library, why these places don't have a supermarket, why places like Walgreens and CVS abandon these cities. It's because of your mayor. It's because of your governor. It's because of your judge, your It's because of your law system that sucks. You know, it's so obvious to people that are outside of that. And it just blows me away. These places are cursed because of the people they keep voting into office. They keep wanting police chiefs that talk tough but don't do anything. And then look what happens when you give people promotion. Like Eric Adams, he goes from the police chief to the mayor. He's a crook. He's a criminal. Oh my goodness, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. I'm just going to say it. Philadelphia, Chicago, Houston, until you guys change your ways, you're going to get the same thing. Misery. I want nothing to do with those cities. I never plan on visiting any of those places. Nobody is safe in those cities. And the people that take it the most, the people in these impoverished neighborhoods, they sit there and cry the loudest for reform, and then they wonder why nobody's coming to their house when they dial 911. It's like, my God, you're pushing away people that are trying to help you. You're embracing the criminals, and then the criminals are stabbing you in the back, and you're okay with it. It's the creepiest thing. It's like Stockholm Syndrome. It's like people that are okay living in neighborhoods with these horrible people, and they don't want to do anything to get rid of it, but they fight the cops that try to help them. Ugh. Now, don't get me wrong. Are there bad cops? Yeah, we've talked about a handful of bad cops. You guys know how I feel. You find a bad cop, throw him in jail along with the criminals. Don't let him be a police officer anymore. But you want to know something? Just like teachers are in shortages and high demands around the country, that's how police are too. Every city you go to, you'll see billboards where they're trying to get people to work for the police department. But would you want to work for the police department where everybody, instead of helping you, puts out your camera and records you trying to get you in trouble? You know, you have to shoot a perpetrator or whatever. You've got a million eyes on you trying to throw you in jail. I would want nothing to do with being a policeman, especially in those cities. It's just awful. Those people are cursed. Those people are literally tying one arm behind their back, and then they're wondering why they get victimized left and right. It's because you're pro-criminal. There's no other way to look at it. Pro-criminal. That's what blows me away. By the way, that's what my walk has led me to believe. There are certain places in this country where because of how they do things, they are stuck in a perpetual loop of sucking ass. And by the way, you can make a parallel to walking. How, Jesse? Well, Bob, think about it. So many times we eat poorly. That's no different than letting the bad people live within us, right? We're eating poorly. So many times we don't want to do the naturally smart thing, which is start walking, start improving yourself. And that's exactly how these cities are. They don't want to make any improvements. They want some magical place where they have every freedom in the world to do bad, and only the people that do bad against them go to jail. But it doesn't happen that way. Could you imagine somebody attacking you? You go through the process of going through the court system, they go in jail. Could you imagine the judge and the parole boards letting them out 6 or 7 months later? Guess what they're going to do? They're going to come right back and terrorize you. That's what you get with the city of brotherly love. That's what you get with the Windy City. That's what you get with New Orleans and Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland. You get the same old crap. Nobody ever changes anything. You know, my thinking is, why don't we change the way we police? Why don't we have a permanent police presence in every school? Why don't we have a permanent police presence in every city and state park? You know, why don't we have police presence in every Walmart and every Target? I mean, if people constantly steal from these places, why do we have to call the cops? Everybody pays an arm and a leg out of taxes to have a police presence, yet every time they need the cops, the only place they show up is a hospital. That is just nuts. So again, if you're a venter from Philly or Chicago, The best advice I could give you is not to take a daily walk, because that could cost you your life. The best advice I could give you is run. Get out of those cities. I would rather be homeless in a good city than have to live in some of those neighborhoods. That's crazy. And by the way, the best way you can help homeless people is not to become homeless. So don't take my advice literally there. But anyway, have a good day. I get upset at these things because I'm starting to realize it's our fault. We're not changing anything. We're not demanding change. Meanwhile, all these politicians, they end up getting richer and richer. It's really evil. Have a great day. I'll see you later.